So this is something that really caught my attention, and I want to share it with you from the Wall Street Journal. It says Americans are leaving the US in record numbers. And I knew that there was a strong interest from Americans after Trump got elected to leave the USA, but I didn't know necessarily it was in like record numbers and, more people are actually doing it, not just talking about it. I want to go over this and some other things happening in the US and otherwise. And I want to get your thoughts on this one, especially from, people in the USA. Do you hear your friends in your community talking about this? Are you yourself talking about this? Again, leaving the USA. Outside the USA, are you seeing more Americans in your neighborhoods and on your streets? And also just to contrast, say outside the USA, are people in your country, if you're not American, are they talking about leaving and going somewhere else? Is this like a worldwide phenomenon, or is like, I'm going to get out of my hometown and go somewhere else? Let me go over a little bit of this stuff because I think the numbers are really interesting and important to talk about it. It says, last year, the U.S. experienced something that hasn't definitively occurred since the Great Depression. And this is the kind of stuff that you always hear when you talk about Trump. It's like the first time in 100 years kind of stuff, be it, how many people got loans and they're speculating, then you're going to lead up to a massive bubble and crash. Trump himself has used the word depression quite a bit. And then now this is another sign. It's like once every 100 kind of years where people start leaving the USA. More people moved out than moved in, right? Now, the Trump people will say this is awesome. The Trump administration has hailed the exodus, negative net migration, as the fulfillment of its promise to ramp up deportations and restrict new visas, right? And then also, if you want to get a visa for USA, pay Trump $1 million. For real. I guess as dumb as it sounds, it's the gold visa thing that he's got. And I think there's even another one for $5 million or something. I can't keep track of stuff, but they do have that gold Trump card. Beneath the stormy optics of that my immigration crackdown, however, lies a less noticed reversal. America's own U.S. citizens are leaving in record numbers, replanting themselves and their families in lands they find more affordable and safe. And I think those two things are really key. If you talk to anyone abroad, just life is different outside the USA. I always, for me, the big one is food and healthcare. Safety is also a big one. It's just the reality. You leave the USA, you don't have to worry about some person packing. And grandma's not like me packing, right? They're not packing, mean they're not going to have a weapon or something, right? It's just so different. I can't explain it. For those of you who've never been outside the USA, when you leave, you realize, wow, USA is kind of crazy that way. And a lot of people are heading off to other places, right? Since the Eisenhower administration, the U.S. hasn't collected comprehensive statistics on the number of citizens leaving. So you don't know for sure, but yet you have other data points. Yet data on resident permits, okay? So people being able to live somewhere else. Foreign home purchases, student enrollments, and other metrics from more than 50 countries, so they're able to get a bunch of data from all over the place, from 50 countries, show that Americans are voting with their feet to an unprecedented degree. A million-strong diaspora is studying, telecommuting, and retiring overseas. The new American dream for some of the citizens is to no longer live there. And they had a couple interesting charts here, which I'll show you guys. This is U.S. residents in Portugal. So basically the numbers keep going up. You can see it right there. So 2019, there's like 4,700 Americans. Evidently now it's like 26,000. So that's quite a jump. And I'll be curious if anyone's in Portugal. I think it may be Lisbon would be the hot city. Do you feel like that is a major change? More, and these are just various countries. This is Ireland. So I guess in 2015, there's like 2,800 Americans. Now there's like a big jump, and you can actually see the jump, right? Like in 2025, suddenly a whole bunch more started showing up. Now 9,600, and I bet you 2026, maybe the numbers will even go further because it's hard to get a count exactly. I would imagine, but there's more. I mean, there's a bunch of this stuff. This is another chart. This is France. So what was this? 2016, 6,935. Now in 2025, you have like 15,000, and I'm assuming they only go to certain cities because I was reading through the stuff and they're saying like, certain areas is like American Plaza or American sort of Ville, that kind of stuff where there's just a lot of Americans. And I was thinking about this also. There are companies out there that I guess will relocate people is what this says. Some of these are called, like, for example, one is Lux Nomads. That's for like wealthier individuals, says well-to-do. GTFO Tours. So that's people who don't like Trump. That's sort of who they target. Blacksit Global. So that would be for Black Americans, evidently. She hit refresh, and that one's targeting women. And they were saying like the largest category people want to leave the USA is actually women. There's a Gallup poll, 40% of women ages between 15 and 44 wanted to leave the USA. And this is like a widespread trend. There's multiple countries involved. So here they're also saying like 50,000 US born Mexican Americans went back, or not went back, that's the right word, just moved to Mexico. Because again, US born, so that's like I said, not going back, just going to another place. And this is actually something I've heard about in Mexico as well. There's like various enclaves of American expats there. It's all over. I know Americans go to Thailand also, and they also asked me about, hey, do you see Americans in Korea? There are many that are here. I don't go specifically looking for Americans. My wife is Korean, so we hang out in the Korean areas. But yeah, if you go to certain places, you can certainly find them. And I'll be frank, on weekends, actually, on the beach, there's a volleyball club of all things. And a lot of expats play volleyball together, and it's pretty cool. They look friendly every time we see them. And actually, we met one of the persons, not American, he was a Canadian, and actually showed him on our vlog channel. And he's got like a chocolate company of all things. It's pretty cool, actually, to be frank. He's a nice guy. You can find my vlog on that. Just look for the Christmas video. You'll see we talked to him. I was thinking about this as well. This is the current American culture, and not everyone is into this stuff. You'll see this all over the internet, right? So this person's named Marshall Haas. And he's basically saying, time to build myself an AI assistant and see what the hype is all about, right? So for some people, the peak of American culture or the peak, male lifestyle, as one of Elon Musk's fanboys, did an AI image before, someone's living that type of dream if you want that. Like lots of cars in your garage, apparently, and you got your AI buddies. That's not necessarily for everyone, but it does represent sort of who, I guess, for some people aspire to. And also for me personally, this represents sort of this extreme American capitalism that is not for me. I don't need 3 cars and live in my garage. Here's another example. So this particular person's named Bento Boy, okay? And that's why you get a sense of like what's going on in the USA. He says, I'm involved with crypto, real estate, prediction markets, social media, and AI. Great. But AI makes every other business venture better/easier, which makes me more money in theory. This makes AI the highest leverage avenue of our generation. Seems smart to go all in. Okay. Then he writes, many people will be fooled by the pump and think the bottom is in. Be careful. I think he's probably talking about crypto. And then he's tweeting off about Bitcoin, right? Oh, wow, Bitcoin's so awesome. And then he goes, this is kind of funny. It's an hour later. I'm still poor and have no idea how to set it up. WTF, man, she should build itself, SMH. Okay. And he's talking about getting his own, AI buddies and stuff, me and my Mac Mini against the world. I watched 3 YouTube tutorials, and anytime I ran into a problem, I took a screenshot and asked Claude to help me. It was a relatively easy process. And again, he's doing his old AI agent thing. It took me an hour and 43 minutes to set up my Mac Mini. OpenClaw is a complete noob. Alex, my AI agent, is living and running, but I still have no idea what I'm doing, really. Time to find out if this thing is actually as powerful as everyone says. Now, I'm showing you this stuff because I think this represents much of what's going on in the USA these days, to where people live in their garage with their cars, I guess, or live in this person's, whoever he is, and dream about this idea of, we're going to have all my AI buddies in crypto and whatever and be rich, I guess, that way. But it's a really isolated life. And I think this also contributes to, like, much of USA is this keyboard warrior culture, to where, people spend all day, every day attacking other people, that complete strangers online. And I see that as well, I'll see like whacked out comments all the time on YouTube. You guys have no idea. People tell me I'm so dumb all the time. And it's weird to watch this stuff. It's so weird. Because whenever I go through news, I don't feel like I'm saying anything crazy. I'm literally just telling you guys what's going on from like a human point of view. And when I look at this stuff, but it reminds me in the USA, like this sort of greed for more cars, more, I guess, robots. And it's like less, how can I say, like less importance of people. Is that a good way to say it? Where these sort of bros always like, hey, it's all about money and the material goods, and it's not really about people for them. That's why they're always talking about whatever charts or things that they're looking at. And then it becomes sort of obvious in the news then when you look at U.S. culture, because that's why I showed you guys things people want to move away. It's like, what are they moving away from? Like this kind of stuff. Federal Reserve mounts closed-door fight against Justice Department subpoenas. So what it is you have, what was her name? Jeanine Pirro. So she was like a former Fox News host. Now she's a U.S. attorney, and then she's going after Jerome Powell because they're mad that Jerome Powell doesn't lower rates, and they have to come up with some sort of like basically fake reason to go after him. That's basically what it is. And so they're fighting over that. Or you look at what else going on in the Trumpy land. Now they're using the Department of Justice to go after, was it 5 more states? So there's just a bunch of states to try to get voter rolls. And they want to like control elections and stuff. Like it's just corruption. The whole thing is ridiculous. And then how does this happen? You say like you have such like a group of people that again want to isolate themselves. They don't know how to relate to human beings. They just think I need more cars and more AI buddies, right? Or you have stuff like this. In Trump's case for war, a series of false or unproven claims. And I think what's so troublesome about this stuff is that, for anyone who just wants to look up anything, like it's so easy to disprove all of the lies that Trump says all the time, right? It's so obvious. It's like the whole administration is run by My Pillow guy, which everyone, whenever bring up My Pillow guy, this is always a joke to everyone because it's so obviously, a lunatic. The same way it's so obvious that Elon Musk is as well. And it's crazy because like people say, no, Chris, you're so dumb. My Pillow is awesome. Same way that Elon is awesome. It's just like, what are you guys smoking? And you look at this stuff, Iran is far from building ICBMs. Experts say despite Trump's warning of a looming threat. And so faced with these choices, you have extreme capitalism in USA. That's why I showed you the people who's like dreaming about cars and their cryptos or whatever. And then you have corruption in the government. And then the business news then runs stories of like people leaving, right? This is also in the Wall Street Journal today, talking about New Zealand. It says, New Zealand rolls out the welcome mat for wealthy American home buyers. So I guess if you want to go to New Zealand, and I'll be frank, these pictures look pretty good. So these are people in New Zealand. I guess they moved to north of Auckland. If you guys are in New Zealand, let me know. This looks like a pretty nice area. They were showing their house there, and it's just like, isn't this crazy? Because I grew up in America, so the idea that people are dreaming about leaving the country is completely new thing. This is relatively new, but then when you look at where they are. And I'm gonna assume, and you can let me know if I'm wrong, but I'm gonna assume it's gonna be pretty safe there compared to the USA. It's just, and this house looks nice, and it's really interesting to see this stuff because how can I say? I think when people really see like how different it is and where it is, etc., and how pretty it is in New Zealand, they'll be like, man, it doesn't look that bad. And this actually isn't that foreign to Americans. If you really want like that kind of living style, it's just basically a house kind of thing. Because if, some countries, some cities might be a huge change. If you go from, rural USA to big city in Europe, it might just be like massive change where you don't drive around, you ride on mass transit, you ride bicycles, you walk everywhere. Maybe some people don't like that. They miss their car for whatever reason, right? And so then you go to, New Zealand where you can get more like that kind of biggie housey kind of lifestyle. But what I always say for anyone out there, and I, talk my book all the time, you can find a copy of it, but you got to find a place that makes sense for you. For some people, and I don't want to be, like a, too mean of a hater kind of person. For some people, maybe that's what they want. Maybe buying the 3 sports cars and living with your AI assistants, maybe that's for you, and that's fine. More power to you, right? Or maybe this guy, the one who's trying to do his AI buddies with this thing, even though he says he's still poor, maybe that's the life for him. I don't know. So that's what's going on. I noticed it happening in the news in the Wall Street Journal today that a lot of people are leaving, and I just want to address it with you and get your thoughts. Thank you for your time, and I'll catch you all in the next video.